All right, welcome back. So we're now going to start with our Kreg Jig and start putting the pocket holes into the side pieces so that we can screw them into the board later. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at my Kreg Jig here, and it comes with a nice screw. It's like a tapered drill bit, which will give you a place for the screw to guide into, and then a spot where the head will actually stick into the board. And the way this works is you get this part here, which you're going to drill into, and your board sits in it like so. And it's just going to sit there, and you're going to drill into it at an angle, and you get the same perfect pocket hole every single time. So it's a really neat little tool. And so I'm just going to get started here. Get one done. So what you want to do is you want to be real careful, since I've got so many holes in this thing. It's kind of like Swiss cheese. I got to make sure I'm picking a good spot to put these pocket holes so I'm not degrading the integrity of the wood too much more. And it's also nice that it just kind of sits right into it like that. So these things work real easy with any kind of drill that you got. I prefer keyless chucks because I'm just, young like that. So, and you also want to make sure that you're doing this into the right side. Notice that the inside is where I'm actually putting the pocket hole, because I don't want that to be seen from the outside. And even if you do on the outside though, there are little plugs that you can put in to fill in the gaps. You just put them in, sand them down, and then you're good to go. But here we go. So that easy. And you get a little pocket hole for a screw just like that. And what I'm going to do is I will put my put a couple more of these in throughout the side of length of the board. And from there, I'll just go ahead and drill it right into the spot I need it to go. Alright, and just like that, we've got some nice pocket holes into all of our pieces. I've got another sticker I need to remove. Oh, you bastard. You dirty bastard. They did that on purpose. They made it shred because they didn't want it to be easy. Those sons of bastards. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so just like that, we've got some wonderful pocket holes cut into all of our boards. If you're asking where did I get the idea of how many to use and how far to space them, basically wild guess. Call that a wag. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So you don't really need a whole lot. 3 is good for one of these sides, and about 4 on the other front and back panels will be all that I really need. The good thing about these is once I get the glue on there and I get these screwed on, I really won't need clamps to hold them in place. The screws will actually be the clamps for the most part. So really all that's left to do now is get these onto the bottom and start screwing and gluing. Alright, so now that we've got the pocket holes cut into the boards, last thing to do so that we can get this started, is going to be to get the side panels on. And I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to put some glue along the bottom of each one of these boards as I put the pocket hole screws in. One thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to clamp them in place while I put the pocket holes in, or while I put the screws in, because it gets to be a little bit difficult to put to keep the screws, or to keep the plate piece exactly where you want it. this will be pretty easy. So I'm going to use some Gorilla Glue wood glue. I use this pretty much all the time, and not for any particular reason other than it's never failed me. So it's pretty good stuff. I'm also going to be using fairly short 1-inch Kreg screws, which are meant for wood. So they are exactly what I'm looking for. What I would really like to do is for some way to open the damn box. That would be really sweet. Oh, I guess I have to pull these tabs off, or maybe I'm not supposed to do that. Well, no, I think that's what you're supposed to do. Okay. So, yay. So I've got my 1-inch screws here. Some of these you gotta be careful. You'll end up seeing some of them will just be blank. They won't have threads on them. So you gotta be real careful and make sure that you actually use ones that have threads on them. That should be pretty obvious when you're going through it. But you know, idiot check. Now you'll notice these are also power bit type screws. So luckily Kreg comes with these also bits that go right in there, and it's nice because they're on a nice long screw head or a nice long shaft. So you have plenty of space to work. Now, while you're doing this, when you start putting your glue on, you don't need to put a ton on, but you also want to have a rag with some water handy, which I do, of course, because I'm prepared. But yeah, you'll need to have a rag with some fluid. Paper towel works as well. I prefer a rag because a rag is generally going to leave behind less residue than a paper towel will. But get your rag nice and soppy and wet, which I've already said before, don't use it or don't get your MDF too wet, but this is one of those instances where you gotta get a little bit of water on it, just make sure you don't, let it sit there in one spot for too long. And that's where we just clean up excess glue. So here we go. We're gonna put a nice little bead of glue all the way down. You don't have to make it super thick because trust me, it will spread out quite well on its own. Put that bead in there. All right. Once that bead is in place, you're going to want to get some clamps. Now you can invest a lot of money in expensive clamps if you want. I've always gotten by pretty well with just regular old quick clamps. They work just fine. So make sure you dust off your piece, give it a quick dust off so everything's out of the way. And then just put it down where you want it. Make sure you got it in a good spot on both sides and that you're aligned with your markings that you should have made. And once you got that done, you just go ahead and take your clamps, and you'll want to clamp it down on the ends. Now it will have a bit of a tendency to move a little bit, so you want to make sure that your clamps are not pulling it off too much. You know what, this isn't working that well. It's not working that well, so I'm just going to screw it in and we're going to see what happens. I think I should be okay. So here we go. We're going to find our first pocket hole right there. Put our screw in, and we're going to hold it in place while we screw in to the board. There we go. So that's one in. And then we're going to find our next screw hole, which is at the other end, and we're going to do that and put that one in next. The reason we're not going to go right down the line on these is we want to make sure that the ends stay where the ends are supposed to be, because we don't want the ends going all willy-nilly. There we go. So now we got our back piece joined pretty well for the most part. I got that one in. And this is also an opportunity for you to take out a bit of that bow without having to do some sanding. So if you hold things in place while you do your screws in, you can actually get some of the bow out. Not a whole lot, and it's fairly difficult, but you can do some. Alright, there we go. So we got a nice solid joint there. I am going to clamp it on the ends because the ends don't have a whole lot of support. So I'm going to give it a bit of a clamp there to make sure that the glue adheres well. Really, anywhere where you don't see glue coming out, you're going to want to give it a little bit of a clamp. Like this spot here is a good spot for a clamp. Alright, so welcome back. As you can see, we have finished letting the glue dry. I'm not exactly sure where the camera cut out while I was filming because the battery just died in the middle of it, but as you can see, we've got all the sides up. They're all screwed down, glued down, and we got a nice solid system here. And I can go ahead and take all these clamps off now. So clamps off, clamps off. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. All right, so with that part done, pretty much all that's left to do is to start sealing up some of these little bits of gaps here. So it's real hard to get everything perfect. You will almost never get it done, ever, pretty much. So one thing that you can do, and in this instance, this is what I'm going to do because I definitely want the entire thing to be sealed. I don't want air to be coming in through different cracks or being able to make its way out in different areas. I want air to be going out specifically through the paths I've directed. So areas along the bottom, as well as the seams where the pieces are joined together, I want to make those as solid as I can. So in order to do that, I'm going to use caulk. Now you can use a variety of different caulks for this purpose. There's no one set way to do it, and my preferred method, or my preferred type of caulk, is going to be an exterior caulk. It's a premium indoor-outdoor sealant. Doesn't really matter the brand. I tend to use DAP just because. And this is white, and that's not really going to matter for this. The white will really not show once it's painted over, but this is paintable and you can, I believe, sand it a little bit. So this should be pretty good. But this is meant for sealing your house up, so this will work great for this desk. So I'm going to grab my caulk gun and we'll get started. Alright, so I've got my caulk gun, I've got my caulk, we're ready to get started. But in case you're not familiar with caulk at all, I'm going to do a quick demo on how to open up caulk and how to properly apply it. So right here, I would recommend getting a nice solid caulking gun. You can buy the cheap all aluminum ones that are easily breakable, bendable, and they only cost about $3. But if you spend the extra $5 to $7 on something like this, it'll last a lot longer, and you'll have all these neat little features like a thing that you can cut the end of your caulk tip with. Plus, it comes with one of these little deals right here, which a lot of these will have a inner seal so that once you cut the tip, you'll actually have to poke something down in there to get it open. This, I don't believe it has that, so that's fine. Now, when you cut your tip off, you want to kind of try to make your tip be about the size of the bead you are going to lay down. So since these are pretty small gaps, I'm going to make it fairly small. You also want to kind of make it sort of an angle. You don't have to use an angle. I prefer to use a slight angle on mine. Some people use like a 45-degree angle, but something of an angle that's about that shallow right there. Not even maybe 15 degrees. This is what I like to use. But you insert your caulk gun and get it ready to go. And then you can just give it a quick couple clicks to make it start to come out a wee little bit there, and then we'll get started. So the first gap I'm going to do is right over here, and I'm just going to put that little angled bit that I've got. I'm going to put that little angled bit that I've got right up in the corner of it. And then I'm just going to lay down a nice smooth bead. just like that, nothing too fancy. Now what you'll want to do is, depending on your type of caulk, you can use just a wet finger or a glove. I prefer using gloves because I don't like to get my hands dirty. So I've got a nice glove here, some sort of rubber, I can't remember what it's called, but it doesn't really matter what you use. But once you put your bead in there, you just go ahead and give it a quick smooth out there, and it'll be good to go. And then you can use that excess on whatever you want. I've got a couple spots here that need a little sealing, so I'll do that. So I'll get that done. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the outside. There's a little bit of a gap there, so I'm just going to use it to seal that gap up. And then again, same idea, just smooth it out with your finger as you go. And that'll fill your gap in. So even if you don't get a perfect 45-degree angle and a perfect joint, you can still make it, you can still fake it. You can hide the crime, as it were. Now I'm going to do this all the way along, anywhere where the board is contacting, because that will actually, like I said, keep all the air from escaping places I don't want it to go. So I'm just going to lay down another nice bead of caulk right along the whole bottom section, and then again smooth it out with my finger. And I'm not looking for it to be like a perfect caulk line because I'm going to paint over it and it's going to be fine. Alright, again same thing going this direction. Alright. Got a little on my hole there. Okay. And it gets a little interesting in these parts over yonder. But I'm going to do it on the inside and the outside of every joint. Every place where transitions between two different pieces. So we've got this all caulked up, and if you're wondering what do you do with your caulk once you're finished using it so that you can save some of it or save what's left, I like to just take a nail and jam it into the hole of the caulk gun or the caulk package, and you want to jam it all the way in there as deep as you can because you don't want it to, it'll rust, depending on the type of nail, it may rust into the caulk and you have to spit some extra out or whatever. But if you put it in there good and tight, it'll keep a nice airtight seal and you'll be good to go. Now that I've got this sealed up, I'll give you a quick view of how that's going to look here. So here we go, quick little sweeping shot, yeah. So we're going to look over the whole thing, and notice that I've got caulk around the whole bottom, top side there. Anywhere where I had a big gap, there I had a fairly large gap. And you'll notice I went a little bit crazy with the caulk, but it's fine because we're going to sand that off, and it's going to look just good. It's going to look great. Everything's going to look great. Gotta have faith in me. Just have faith in me. So yeah, this is a roughed out bit here, and next thing we got to do is start painting it. But it's going to take about 2 hours for this caulk to dry fully, and that will be our cue to start sanding. And that's what you do before you paint, is you sand. And man, painting and sanding, best two things in the world. Love it. Love it so much.